And now, please welcome Shoptalk's Chief Global Content Officer, Zia Daniel Wigder.
Some days I rage like a fire in the wilderness. Some days I only need the darkness and a place to rest. Oh, it takes time.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Shoptalk 2018. I'm going to take a few minutes this morning to talk through our view of the retail industry and highlight how our event at Shoptalk addresses a new era we've just entered. As Anil mentioned in his opening remarks yesterday, we view the retail industry as going through three phases. You'll recognize this slide by now, but you'll see that in 2015 and before, we were in a phase we call the legacy normal, where short-term wins were prioritized over longer-term investments. Then, in 2016 and 17, we hit a period of disruptive change in retail. Numerous retailers shuttered stores and declared bankruptcy. It practically became a sport to declare retail to be in a death spiral. By contrast, earlier this year, the pendulum swung in the other direction. Many hailed the positive results coming out from the 2017 holiday season as an indication that retail was back, and that the downturn had merely been a short-term hiccup in an otherwise healthy industry. Our view is that retail is neither in a free fall, nor is it business as usual. We see today's retail industry as being in a phase we call the new normal. And as you heard yesterday, the primary defining characteristic of this new normal is that disruptive innovation is no longer reactive or something that a minority of people advocate. Instead, it is embraced by the mainstream and a top priority throughout retail organizations. In the new normal, hyperbolic terms like Armageddon and apocalypse are no longer used in describing the future of retail. It's a new era where innovation, not protection of the status quo, is reflected in companies' hiring and training of new leaders, and where innovation is not penalized internally. In 2017, our program that recognized change makers within organizations was called the Heretics Program, since these individuals were going against what was generally accepted. By contrast, this year we are calling this group of individuals our catalysts, since they are the ones helping to drive change. So what will the new normal look like, and what will happen in the new normal? It will be marked by a series of changes that will alter how we discover, shop, and buy. First, back-end technology improvements and shortened supply chains will mean faster access to cutting-edge fashion and design. Automated warehouses and new pickup and delivery options will reduce fulfillment times, changing consumers' definition of immediacy. The returns process will be simplified, making it far less painful for retailers and consumers alike. Second, in the new normal, consumers will come to expect many of the experiences that are seen as cutting edge today. Search results will increasingly be generated through natural language text and voice, and will match the intent and preferences of shoppers. Serendipitous discovery will become more common as it becomes easier to predict which products and experiences will delight each individual shopper. Technologies that enable shoppers to visualize products on their faces and bodies and in their homes and gardens will become the norm in categories like beauty, apparel, furniture, and home improvement. Third, startups and traditional businesses will be more aligned. Large retailers and brands will not revert to the previous vacuum where there is little interaction with early-stage companies. As retailers look to differentiate their product offerings, direct-to-consumer startups will become new suppliers to their businesses, and new businesses rolled out by large retailers will be powered by startup partners. And as retailers move beyond talking about omni-channel and instead focus on a balance of digital and physical offerings, startups will play a critical role in delivering the technologies that will enable new shopping experiences. Finally, the new normal has ushered in a new era where mainstream consumers are seeking out smaller brands with unique propositions and benefits. In past years, startup brands were typically supported by a small group of early adopters. Today, brands can rocket into the mainstream in months or sometimes even in a handful of weeks, rather than in decades as we've seen in the past. The new normal means greater competition for established brands that must now be nimble enough to compete against these new rivals. It also means consumers will have more choice than ever as they make purchase decisions. Our goal in creating the Shoptalk agenda was to showcase the trends and technologies that will be a core part of the new normal. To call out just a few of the themes we'll be exploring: the rise of niche brands. As I just mentioned, we'll be covering a number of these brands on our sessions across the agenda. So for example, on our track on the future of brands, we'll look at the rise of small, fast-growing brands that are catering to consumers' needs and challenging the biggest players in the market. We'll also explore the changing relationship between brands and their retail partners as they look to cultivate more direct relationships with customers while still achieving scale. The growth of experiential retail. On our tracks on shopping experiences of the future and the evolution of the retail store, we'll look at the growth of experiential retail and hear traditional retailers how they're shifting their approach to stores. We'll hear how digitally native startups are launching new physical retail locations and how design agencies are reimagining the future of retail. Changing store associate. The role of the store associate continues to evolve. The past few years have seen associates tasked with new responsibilities, such as picking and packing ship-from-store orders and managing clienteling applications to personalize in-store interactions. Going forward, associates will be asked to understand a growing variety of new in-store technologies. They'll also be granted more leeway to innovate as retailers look to leverage the experience of those on the front line of shoppers. The arrival of cashierless checkout. As retailers look to eliminate pain points in the customer journey, few are as obvious as the checkout process, especially in physical retail. Retailers and tech companies are both taking a variety of approaches to streamline checkout, and it is clear that checkout will look very different in the near future. We had a glimpse of this in our keynotes last night, and over the next couple of days, we'll hear more about checkout, but we'll also start to hear more about automation in the warehouse. Warehouses, too, will operate far more efficiently going forward. The use of robotics and automation is becoming widespread at large retailers. Today, we'll hear from companies like Ocado that are not only automating their own warehouses, but also marketing the technology they've developed for others. More transparent supply chains. Retailer supply chains are set to undergo a massive shift, and it's not just about shortening time to market. As consumers demand to know more about how and where their products were manufactured or grown, brands and retailers will not only have to amend their manufacturing processes, but also ensure they're capturing and providing consumers with accurate product information. We'll hear how companies are taking new approaches to manufacturing and how retailers like Walmart are using blockchain to create more transparent supply chains. And finally, a word on artificial intelligence, a technology that's affecting every area of retail, from the supply chain and back-end operations to merchandising and the customer experience. The number of sessions that you'll hear about AI at Shoptalk has increased substantially in 2018. You'll hear 4 keynotes. For example, the founder and CEO of Pinterest will discuss how visual discovery will transform the shopping experience, and the new chief scientist of AI at eBay will take a broad look at how AI will change how we shop and sell. We'll also have numerous track sessions that look at different applications of AI, and an entire track on Wednesday dedicated to AI and retail. So to wrap up, artificial intelligence is, in many ways, a good metaphor for the new normal. One definition of AI describes it as a system that perceives its environment and takes action to maximize its chances of success. That's what the new normal looks like. It requires constant learning and experimentation in order to succeed. We thank you for joining us and hope you'll enjoy the next few days. Thank you.